Well, hey, everybody. We're back with another review for episode 8 of Halo. Joseph, do you even know the name of this episode?
I think it was titled Almost Master Cheeks.
Yeah.
And I don't care.
Very cringe.
Yes, it was very cringe.
This is probably the cringiest episode. I mean, I still think I think that Quan Ha, worst episode.
Yeah.
This
one's the cringiest.
It's just really cringy.
You know what's not cringe though?
Huh.
If you like the work that we've been doing, you can go to our description, click on the direct.me link. There you can see all the ways you can support us because we utilize a value for value system, which means whatever value you're getting from us, you can donate in return. And main thing that we're asking is if people can hit the PayPal donation link in our show notes at the direct.me link. Click that. Go to PayPal and set up a reoccurring donation, particularly just $1 is fine. And also, if you can share our YouTube channel, subscribe, comment, and like. If you enjoy it, that'd be great too. You can follow us, as well as with that, you can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.
Awesome.
And we also do a podcast that you can check out on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yes, and all of those will be linked to the direct.me. So. Yep. Let's just kind of jump into it, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you have any opening thoughts before I start?
I saw him in front of the mirror, and I had traumatic flashbacks to what was it, episode 2 or 3 or whatnot earlier in the season. And I was like, "Are we getting some Master Cheeks?"
Yeah,
because it's been a while since we had some cheeks.
I know. And it's almost to the point where we're disappointed that it's not happening more.
I know. But yeah, I wasn't. I mean, him just staring into the mirror again.
Oh my gosh! And people act
peering into his soul.
People are acting like, not everybody. I would say it's like, what do you think? Maybe 10% of the interactions we've had with people over this. They've been trying to defend it to the death, as if him like staring into a mirror, and you're just like, guys,
he's coming to emotional awareness and stuff. I'm like, guys, it's not. I understand that's what they're trying to convey. They're just doing a bad job at it. They're not handling this in a mature fashion. They're handling it in an immature fashion. Well, even with Kai, right? When we point out to where she takes her inhibitor out, emotional inhibitor, and the first thing she does is she gets gun grease and dyes her hair. That's the first thing they thought of to have her do.
Still not sure if that's a thing, by the way.
Yeah, and on top of that, along with her, she acts erratic, which you could. I think they didn't intentionally mean this, but she acts erratic enough to where it's like, are you trying to say that women are too emotional to control themselves in situations, in high stress situations? Again, I just think it's poor writing.
I don't think they see how it comes off. Again, I think when we tend to say immature, it's less like babyish or whatever, and it's just, it doesn't feel like a well-developed plot.
Yep.
Everything in this episode this episode's a massive example of that, because they run through, there's a scene in particular that I want to talk about when we get there, but they run through plot points that should be used to show, to essentially for like world building purposes, and then they rush through that, but then they waste time on useless garbage. And this episode in particular is a prime example. So we can kind of jump into it. I don't know. I kind of want to jump straight to the date. If you're cool with that, because I don't know.
That's fine with me.
I don't know if there's a whole lot. Oh yeah, it's basically right at the beginning. So, okay. Again, this will come up later in the episode. I just want to say, first of all, that I was correct in, again, believing that the UNSC are completely dumb when it comes to the way that they've been handling... okay, how do you pronounce her name? Because I feel like I heard it couple...
Makee.
Is it Makee? Because I swear I heard someone call her, like, Makee in this episode.
Probably.
And then borderline someone call her Mickey. And I'm like, I don't know...
Mickey Mouse, Makee, 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 Makee. Who cares? She's not interesting.
Yeah. So this is the episode where Halo, Master Chief and Makee go, or Makee. We'll just call her Makee. Yeah. And Makee.
No, let's call her Mickey.
You want to call her Mickey?
Yeah, let's call her Mickey.
Sympathetic female villain, which again called that. right? And it's so, well, we'll get to it, but yeah, called that too. All right, so they go on a date, and they're like walking around. For some reason, this woman who is still a mystery to this entire organization allows her to leave and walk around the city with Master Chief. There are guards around, but like, let's be real, this is still this doesn't make sense, guys. Doesn't make sense. So they do all these like pretty things. Wait, was there any more to that? It's just.
No, I think it's just showing.
Oh, that's right.
That was trying to show their relationship developing.
Yeah,
right. And Master Chief's growing to trust her more, and she's growing to trust him.
I forgot that it's like he does a thing where he's like, "Follow me," and then he's like, "You don't have anything to worry about," and then it cuts to the titles or to the opening credits, and then there's some like Halsey stuff, but we'll get into some of that later because again, for the most part, there's nothing important that happens. I would say in the first 20 or so minutes.
Agreed.
Give or take.
My first thought was they could have cut 15 to 20 minutes out, and this would have been a much better episode.
The pacing in this one is pretty egregious.
Yeah. It goes too slow and too fast at the same time.
So they're like on a date, and she's reminiscing about the book from that one episode where she gets abducted by the Covenant. And I called it in that episode, not last week, but the week before, when he's like touching her face in their weird little like vision or whatever. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Get ready for it.
Once again, he doesn't put on his suit at all in this episode.
At all, you're right, and he's wearing this like goofy getup. Like what? Come on, guys.
Hey, but we do get to see him without his shirt on.
Oh yeah. So they're doing that, and they're getting spied on, and they've got the Marines like following them around.
And the Admiral's still mad.
Here's one. Yeah, she's still angry. Though I have to admit, I kind of felt her frustration because I can't remember exactly what she said, but it was something along the lines of like, "This isn't the Master Chief that I know," and I'm like, I'm kind of right there with you.
Yeah.
Like.
I see what you're saying. Honestly, dadgummit, I said it because we were reviewing that yesterday. But truly speaking here, Master Chief has been kind of insufferable this entire season. I think I said that on the previous review. But Quan has been insufferable, and he has, but Quan more so than him.
It's gotten worse, I think, as the season goes on because it's just more of him in this like deadpan stare. So this is the part where I really started just my eyes were rolling so hard here. Actually, I've got to fix the
I just wanted to say I think Captain Keyes, that actor, great actor. The best acting in this episode in my opinion.
Yeah, I actually, what's so funny is that so much of the acting
along with Kai.
Yeah, well, so much of the acting in this is flat that Cortana, I'm even warming up to Cortana. Because I'm looking for like
Cortana's a better actor.
Yeah, I'm just like I'm looking for any sort of thing to like hold on to of be like I want to say something nice, and in this episode I was sort of like, and if I'm being honest, right, one of the biggest I did it too. We're gonna have to work on that. We have some words that we've got to replace.
Yes, we do.
Personally, I think that most of the characters in the show have had very little character development. Like no one has had an arc in this season, and if they've had developments, it's just tiny stuff, right? So
or immature stuff like with Master Chief.
Yeah,
right?
Where it's like, hey, I'm going to the home planet and I'm learning these things that I didn't know before.
And I'm emotional.
Yeah, but it's none of it's like really hitting. And there's a couple different reasons for that. I feel like you could do an entire video about the differences between the way they kind of put Chief together and how you could have done that in a better way, like a video essay or something. But anyway, this in particular, this part right here, they get under these like these cherry blossoms or they're like dogwood trees or something like that. I think she might even mention what they are in the episode. And I was just like rolling my eyes, dude.
I know.
I'm just like, they're going on it. They're on a date.
And I was like, are they going to kiss this episode? I think they are.
And what's so crazy about this, too, is it's like, who, when they were writing a Halo series, was like, let's make the sympathetic female villain and Master Chief go on a date together. And I want to know. You know what this reminds me of? Sorry, I'm skipping a little bit, but this reminds me of the scene in Rise of Skywalker where Kylo Ren and Rey make out before he dies. It feels like the same forced garbage, where it's like they barely know each other, other than the fact that he tried to kill her, right? Rey and Kylo. And they've been enemies for 3 movies. They have some sort of slight connection, and that's enough for the two of them to like make out at the end of Rise of Skywalker. And then you have this, where they've known each other for a day, maybe a little longer than that.
And because they're both blessed ones.
Oh yeah, they have a quote unquote connection, and I'm like, I'm not buying this, guys.
And they did the blessed dancing later on.
But this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
If you were gonna do this, right? You were dead set on having this kind of relationship in the show. Having it move this quickly is a sign of amateur writing.
Yep. Along with that, like, you got to remember, he's supposed to be a Spartan elite. She's supposed to be an elite in the Covenant, right? Or not the elite as far as the race, but she's very high in the system. She's considered a blessed one. And she probably has all the training from the Covenant, which have superior technology, all kinds of stuff, right? So you would think they would show, if they were going to even do it like this, them both trying to manipulate the other one. You know, like thinking they're trying to manipulate each other. Or at least one of them doing that to try and get information out.
Yeah. And we thought that was what her plan was, but she's changed her mind really quick.
Yeah.
And then, there's sort of
They both touched the Halo fragment.
Yeah,
and then she touched his fragment.
Oh, yeah, we're getting there. So, I don't know. They go on this date, and they're like...
But because they both touched the fragment, now they're, inseparable.
Yeah, they're chit-chatting. Okay. And then we cut away to this.
Oh, man, I got so happy when I saw this, too.
So
I'm like, fight scene, come on.
Yeah, I saw this and immediately was like, oh, that's... Hang on. Sorry, I'm getting back there. And I was like, oh, okay. And in my mind, right, I was going, well, this clearly the Covenant did something. They don't... I could be wrong, right? I was wrong about the Halsey being Miranda's mom thing, that line was in there. I'm pretty sure it takes them a couple minutes before anyone actually mentions that the Covenant are the ones that did this. Now, this is the thing that I was telling you about earlier. This bothers me for a couple of reasons. This is a prime example of telling instead of showing. Why did you not show us the Covenant glassing a planet?
Yep.
Why
Probably
also
could have been easy.
Yeah. Also, why was all of this not done 4-5 episodes ago? In fact, why wasn't this done in episode 1?
Yep. So you get that sense of what they're up against.
Yes.
That threat level.
And I still don't feel threatened or like a sense of the threat of them. They're just showing a picture of some rubble and fire and going, they're dangerous. Yeah. This is late, dude. This is so lazy. Unbelievable. And I've already gone over how they could, be better and like examples of that. But I find this very lazy.
Yeah, and CGI, it doesn't look too good either there.
No. It looks like an Xbox game.
It does. Xbox One at that.
Yeah.
Not even the Series X.
So they're in here, and then they talk about the Covenant thing, and everybody's upset, but no one actually... They're all like so stern-faced. It's like I need someone to show some emotion. Someone freak out just a little bit. Look how... Dude, this guy looks dead inside.
I know. And then it's just, who was it said that we need to go fight them? Captain Keyes, I think, or was it the Admiral?
I think
it was Keyes.
It was Keyes.
And then the Admiral was against it, and then... Master Chief was like, no, he's right, or she's right, or whoever was right. We need to go fight. And then there's no fight. Obviously,
they're probably saying
that. That's going to be next week's episode.
But what's weird is, like, I thought they were headed back, and they'll rush through it, I'm sure. I thought they were going to figure everything out so that everything ended on magical. You know what I mean? Because the whole I thought the idea was now that Quan Ha's supposed to be guiding Chief. It's like, but now they're going to a completely different planet to deal with something. Like, is that somehow gonna? I don't know.
Oh, you know what that means? Next week's episode is going to be like an hour and a half,
Dude,
2 hours.
Yeah, I was telling you it might be kind of long.
Please. Lord have mercy. I'm going to say a prayer tonight.
So yeah, they talk about that, and they've pretty much
CBS. When you listen to this,
Paramount.
So no, you
Is
will.
it CBS?
Paramount. Yes, Paramount's
CBS
owned by
owned by
CBS.
CBS?
Yeah. So Paramount Plus executives, when you listen to this, please
Here we go.
just cap it out an hour next week's episode. If you have to make it run long,
Yeah.
please don't let it be longer than an hour. In fact, I would say don't make it longer than 35 minutes, but you're not going to listen to me at least 45.
If you want to hire me to edit down your shows to make them tighter, let me know.
Yep.
So yeah, then we have generally pointless scenes with Kai. She's just showing that she's strong.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why we're doing this in episode 8.
That doesn't make any sense, right? Like this would have probably have been better than the hair scene. But again, it's like,
oh, you know what? That's a really good point.
But again, it still wouldn't convey, like, if she doesn't have her inhibitor and Master Chief doesn't have their inhibitor, and they know they're supposed to have them, they would be trying to do their best to conceal it while at the same time gaining new sensations and outlooks and perspectives and feeling things differently. You know what I mean?
It's like
Equilibrium.
Yeah.
Watch Equilibrium.
Yeah.
Handled much better.
Yeah, it's a better example of that. And remember that point, because there's another scene later on where that was the moment that I went, oh, see, well, if they had written this better, Kai would have been able to control her emotions and wouldn't have freaked out, and then had all the stuff that happens to her a little later in the episode.
Yep.
So then we've got...
But they're trying to portray how women can't control their emotions.
White women.
Yeah, exactly.
So here's Miranda, and she's like basically just trying to decode some language from the ship that Makee
Makee killed.
Yeah. Which I'm going to be honest, I wasn't exactly sure where this was coming from until someone actually mentioned that it was the ship that she was on. I was like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. I see where they're going with that. But it's like, how are you supposed to think that I will remember 4 or 5 weeks later the name of the ship that Makee attacked for 5 minutes of the episode?
Yeah, right.
Dude, I'm just saying.
This part dragged on too much, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, dude.
That they could have handled it a lot better, because I think this has been going on for the past 3 to 4 or 5 episodes.
Look at this. This is a long.
But I mean, the UNSC are dumb, so there's that. Not Miranda, but
no. I mean, she's fine. I know some people really don't like her. I don't really care one way or another.
She's growing on me.
She seems reasonable.
My favorite characters in the show, which I'm not saying I love them, but my favorite characters in the show, for what this show is, Captain Keyes, Miranda, and the Spartans. Black dude, Kai, and other chick.
Yeah,
I don't know their names.
They're all pretty frustrating in this episode, though, I think.
Yeah, they are. All of them are.
So we're getting to that specific scene, right? So she's moping around with her feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is great. Love this part. Master Chief just walks up and he's like, "You're relieved." And the guy's like, "But we have orders." And he's like, "You're relieved." And they're like, "Okay." And they just leave him here with her. And
he was whispering, he was mouthing, "I will show you my cheeks."
Also, shout out to this dude in the back. He's probably like I don't want to say favorite, but I appreciate this character more than anyone else in the show, because he feels like he understands the world that he's in better than anyone else does in the show.
He said, "I'm not leaving Squidhead."
Yeah. And then he does it anyway, and here's some more incompetence from the UNSC, because no one is tracking Chief at this point. They track him when he's outside with Makee, whatever, but the minute these Marines leave, and then you're telling me, because he spends a considerable amount of time with her in the scene, you're telling me that neither of these people went to a superior and was like, "Master Chief's hanging out in that weird chick's room. Y'all might want to look into it." Like they just kind of let things happen, man. It's so strange. Right, so they go in, they're talking. So let me tell you what happened when I was watching this. So at this point, this is 15 minutes into the show, give or take.
Right.
And I was just kind of getting bored, and so I like looked at my phone for a second, and when I looked up, his shirt was off. I like looked up and I was like,
He's like, oh, those are nipples.
Yeah, this is literally what I was like, what's going on? Oh yeah, so they start. Dude, this scene is so cringy. They start touching scars, and they do the whole thing, and
being intimate together.
He literally has known her for 5 minutes, and it's like it doesn't even cross Master Chief that she could be a traitor, a plant, any sort of thing like that.
She's not a spook at all for the Covenant.
Yeah, like he's supposed to be this elite soldier and
highly intelligent.
And the only excuse that anyone would be able to come up with is that his emotional inhibitor has been taken out. It's like, but you're telling me that all of that training, everything that happened to them, it goes out the window the second they take the little pill thing out of his back. It's like that. It's ridiculous, man.
And so she continues touching him, and then she pulls out her finger blade.
That was pretty gross.
It was gross. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I was like watching
fingernails, man.
Yeah, dude.
There's a scene like that in Daredevil in the second season where they're like putting stuff under people's fingernails. Fingernails always get to me. Yeah, it's like the one thing even...
Because you like feel it.
Yeah, like I can generally handle plenty, like the violence and stuff in movies and television, but the fingernail thing, there's something about that always gets to me.
I like Cortana in this because she actually started to... Cortana's probably have the best character arc in this show.
Maybe so.
But she's caring for Master Chief now, and she's like, I wish I was Minnie Mouse, Mickey, and everything. And
oh, that's right.
Halsey goes off the deep end because Keys comes in there.
We should mention, too, that back in the lovemaking scene, that both Halsey and the creepy British guy, I think, and Cortana are all like, listening in or whatever, and they're all like,
that's because Big Sister's always
creepy, dude. Halsey's so creepy.
Big Sister government's always watching you, David.
Oh my gosh. It's just comes off. I mean, I know she's supposed to sort of be the semi-villain of the season or whatever. She's kind of one of them. But dude, I don't know. I feel like we could have done without it. So
that was a creepy part.
Yeah, they start talking.
And he says, you gotta leave. I pull strings for you. I put your aircraft on the tarmac.
And she doesn't want to leave yet.
No.
And so then we get to, after they finish talking, she's going to she puts this in, right, to override everything going on with, I'm assuming the Spartan program, right?
Yeah, so that gives her higher security clearance so she can access things that she's blocked out from because she stole Miranda's eye somehow.
Yeah.
Or, in the previous, 2 to 3 episodes ago, and when Miranda was in there arguing with her.
She doesn't, we'll get to it, and I'll mention it now, but it's insane to me, again, in an advanced society, that any of the rest of this episode was able to happen. So this part's pretty great. And my Marine MP dude fails in this section because Halsey comes in to talk to Makee, and they're pretty loud, right? And that dude's right outside the door.
Yep.
And I don't know exactly where it happens. It's coming up. So they're going back and forth. So he comes in, right?
Right.
And he's like, I hear voices or whatever. And he comes in and he gives her the stare down, and immediately just leaves. So he goes over into the corner. I don't know if I can actually get it. So I would play more of this, but I'm worried about copyright strikes. So I'm trying to be
society.
Yeah, I'm trying to be careful about where that part is. You cut out for a second, by the way.
Yeah.
So
it happened before.
He comes in through this door over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
He goes over to that side, the other side over here that you can't see. And then he goes, he doesn't say this, but he's basically I guess everything's fine. And then he just leaves.
Yep. no more investigation at all, other than just being mad and angry and leaving.
Yes, and not only that, but Halsey immediately comes back, and you're telling me this guy's not outside the door listening?
Yeah,
and that's it. We don't have any sort of he doesn't come back in and catch her, right? Dude, this is what I'm talking about. I can't honestly at this point tell you whether this is lazy or if it's just amateur.
Yeah, right. Well, I think it's just clear they don't know what they're doing.
So she's about to plan her whole coup thing. Gets the Spartans.
She activates a Z protocol for the Spartans.
And you're like, uh-oh, Zed. They're getting stuff ready. No idea what was in that case, by the way. I don't know if it's really important or if that's just a...
Spartans are walking to Master Chief and Makee.
Cortana. This is kind of what you were talking about. This is the point in the show where Cortana is finally realizing maybe that she shouldn't be listening to Halsey. And you're also seeing that part of Cortana where she's maybe realizing that, I guess the whole idea is that she's starting to think for herself and have some sort of emotion in everything. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty obvious she's not going to do what Halsey asks her to do because she wanted to take over Master Chief, right?
Right. She wanted Cortana to shut him off.
Yeah, and then she mentions to her something about like taking over his entire body, like actually being the person that's controlling him. And I'll go with it, but there is a part of me that is like, how is Halsey not aware of the capabilities of Cortana? Like what she can do? And again, this is a weird thing that goes on in the show, and I'm sure you've noticed this, but the lack of fail-safes.
Yes, I was just going to mention that if you didn't.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
No, I was just going to mention the lack of fail-safes in this show, and that Halsey has even for Cortana that hasn't been shown or given is just amazing and astonishing.
Yeah, it's like their fail-safes are so bad, and we're getting to it, but Halsey was able to override the Spartans, even though she's not supposed to have control over them anymore.
Yep.
Because she essentially became just a citizen. Like they revoked any sort of access she's supposed to be able to have to the military side of anything.
Yep.
And that's why Miranda is there and doing all of that stuff. And yet someone hacks into it, right? Whether it be Halsey or not. And the Spartans are just like, okay, we'll do whatever you say.
Yeah. It's almost like she has some sort of control over them that hasn't been clearly defined in the show from what I remember, but I could be wrong on that.
So at some point they knock out Kai. I guess I jumped over that, but it's...
I wonder if they're trying to say, to interject real fast.
No, you're fine.
That the emotional inhibitor that's in their back, maybe that allows Halsey to control them somehow, or maybe it's just from the brainwash or something like that. Who knows? Because they don't do a good job in the show of defining that.
Yeah, but and even in the this is one of the things that is part of the source material. That inhibitor thing is completely made up for the show.
Yeah.
So I don't.
And Halsey found out, as you were mentioning, that Kai was compromised, that she didn't have her inhibitor, so she had the other two Spartans take her out.
And this is exactly what we were talking about, where in Equilibrium, one of the reasons that you have to be able to control your emotions is so that situations like this don't happen. And in Equilibrium, it would mean your death rather than you getting tied up in a bathroom.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that might be another complaint about this show, Joseph. How is it, right, that it's massive military base, no one found her?
I was thinking the same thing. I was just waiting for someone to find her.
Yeah. And
waiting and waiting. That looks like a bathroom. Bathrooms are frequently visited.
And I'm sure you've noticed it too in other parts of the show. There's every time they show areas of reach, it always looks kind of sparse. Mm-hmm. There's definitely a couple exceptions to that, and like the train is one of the ones that I could think of when Master Chief was creeping on those kids. Mm-hmm. But there's never other people around. No one's coming to this bathroom? None of the Marines? Like, there's got to be thousands and thousands of Marines living on Reach.
Well, it's weird because before this scene, they show a tons of Marines, right, and people. Yeah. And then they find out that Halsey messages them or speaks to them and says, hey, take Kai out. They take Kai out, and there's no one around to see him do it, and they were dragging her, and they just dump her in a bathroom and no one sees it. Okay. Perfectly timed. How convenient.
I was trying to find really quickly if there were... It doesn't have a number, though.
I don't really like that shot either. You got dark gray with gray.
Yeah, Yeah. The cinematography in the show is lacking for sure. That was actually another point I wanted to bring up because I was thinking about it last week. You know, this stuff over time when you're watching something, certain thoughts come to you. This show is borderline filmed like not a sitcom, like a soap opera.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's very bright, and it's unfortunate because you can tell how fake the sets are. One of the things that's so great about cinematography is that even if your set isn't very good or whatever the case may be, you can use lighting and other techniques in order to kind of work around certain aspects. But this show, everything is so bright and so clean looking that you can constantly see the faults. It's like I was telling you back in a while back that in episode 1 of the doors it's got to be made out of cardboard because it's opening for Halsey and it just starts wobbling. Yeah. And you're like, isn't that thing supposed to be made out of metal? All right. Well,
and then I think in the fight, someone pointed out in the comments of one of our clips that in the fight in the first episode, when one of the aliens go down, that a piece of cardboard pops up.
Oh, yep.
It's either when the alien goes down or when someone's grabbing a gun off the floor or something like that. But in the first episode, in the fight, a piece of cardboard comes up, and I was just laughing.
Dude. Well, I can't find a number for how many Marines are on Reach. If you guys know, put it down in the comments because I still think no matter what, I've got to be right about that. There's got to be, I mean, what a low estimate of like 10K.
Oh,
right.
Probably more.
It's definitely more. I'm just saying, if you with
minimum 10,000,
even with 10,000, you're telling me that none of them are going to run across this bathroom.
And then how she breaks free is she kicks
the. So they're all hanging out in the room with the key. I think it'll get to the part where she kicks it in a minute. Cortana is about to go completely over because they're about to try to jump Chief and Makee, who are in this little shot right there. So here they are.
Miranda's figuring out that it's Makee.
Yeah.
That's the voice.
Though
Cortana's trying to help Master Chief, and he's saying, "You're annoying, get away." And then she finally says, "Stop," and he listens.
I have to admit, the whole Miranda finding that thing out, it's a little odd. I'll just, part of me was like, I'll just go with it because she is supposed to be pretty smart. Like, this is what she does all the time. She's learning this language. But how she figured out that cadence specifically belonged to Makee. Like, did I miss something there? Or was it that she just heard it and went, oh, that's her?
In the earlier scene between Captain Keyes and Miranda, I thought that Captain Keyes were just going to, or Miranda was going to mention it, but I thought it was going to be Captain Keyes mentioning it to Miranda. Hey, why don't you see if it's Makee that's the voice, because of what I thought if, hey, this random lady showed up from the Covenant.
Yep.
Probably likely if she's been kidnapped that she speaks the language
or
kidnapped
something
from a young age.
Yeah. And again, if they had treated her like a prisoner instead of like she was staying at a 3-star hotel, maybe this would have gone differently. And a lot, but then again, you can't have the melodrama and the date and them doing it without her just kind of being in this hotel room with some Marine police outside.
They can at least.
Yeah,
so they cannot do that.
Kai gets out of her little
hair
thing.
Is still pink.
Her hair is still pink. No one cares. And we get the fight scene that's coming up at the end of the episode where Chief takes on 2 Spartans in full armor. And he's just that special.
Yep.
He does get kind of beat up, though. I'll admit that it's nice that it wasn't just a
You would think though he would have gotten wrecked being hit by their armor. Though.
Yeah,
I understand he's special, but he's still a human that has.
They're just as strong as he is. I don't remember what's the name of this Titan? Do you remember? Titan. What am I saying? It's not. This isn't Destiny. This Spartan.
This is I just call him the Black Spartan. I can't remember his name. No offense to anybody. I'm just saying I just don't remember his name. And I call the other Spartan white lady chick Spartan because the only other name they've given is Sky. I think
they've given their names. They're slipping my mind. Though that's the thing. They've barely been characters in the show. They've been standing around, and then occasionally they fight or follow orders, and that's all that we've gotten from them.
I'll look it up right now.
Yeah, I thought, though, this guy, he's kind of the biggest one of all of them, and he hits Chief pretty hard a lot. Yeah. You would have thought that maybe it would have been a little bit worse.
Vanek.
Vanek, okay. What was the lady? Do you remember? Does it say? Maybe. He's looking. Uh-oh.
I'll let you know.
Okay.
Keep going.
So Chief gets a gun, but then he gets like smashed, and it breaks the gun. I mean, you can tell how cheap the design for the weapons are in this show. I mean, they don't look very good.
Riz. That's her name.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, Riz comes over and they've said it.
Glossed over their names.
Yeah. They've said them. It doesn't stick because they're background characters. They stand around and then eventually they do stuff. And then Vanek has cracked a joke or two in earlier episodes.
Which is why any interaction I see with him for the most part, I mean, he's been my favorite Spartan out of all of them.
Yeah. He's definitely got a presence compared to the rest of them.
Yeah. Kai's warmed up on me.
Here it is. So she hits him. His gun shatters, right? It looked pretty fake. I mean, you could tell the thing was made out of plastic or something, and he gets smashed up against this pipe, which is fine. It's kind of funny to me that it just completely shatters the gun.
But I guess people don't really understand how easy it is to knock someone out.
Yeah.
I understand Master Chief is special. I get that, but he's getting hit by someone who's at least nearly as strong as he is. Uh-huh. Even if they want to make the argument, because he is Master Chief, he's supposed to be the best one, right? But not only is Guy nearly as strong and agile and fast and everything, but he's also in his Spartan suit.
Yeah, true. He's just hanging out in this stuff, and I guess you could say because he's back in his Under Armour or whatever. So you could get away with saying like maybe there's something to him wearing that. Mm-hmm. But I tend to agree. It is one thing, though, that I'm all right in fantasy / sci-fi, right? That's not, like, the people aren't just getting KO'd in one hit, because it does...
I get that, but it's like, he took, like, 500.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying, though, is that it adds to good drama when you allow a choreographed fight scene to play out. Mm-hmm. And you can't just have them blocking the entire time, right? So there has to be heavy hits. They have to show that kind of stuff because it is sort of, that's where the suspension of disbelief I personally think is appropriate to bring in when you're talking about any of this stuff. Because it's like any normal person, and you're right, even in a situation like this where their power levels are probably pretty even in the amount that he's been getting hit. Mm-hmm. You kind of just have to give a little bit of leeway to be like, yeah,
I get that. If he wasn't in his armor, I wouldn't have said anything. Well, it just seems.
And I guarantee that if the show was good, you wouldn't care.
That's true too.
I think you would have been able to.
I mean, come on, like when you get hit, when someone's coming and you see it, you know what you do? Well, you turn your head and your body with it. And even though you're still going to get hit, it's not going to be as bad. And less likely to knock you out theoretically.
That's another.
Knockouts happen when like someone's going to punch you and you lean into it, generally speaking.
Yeah. But it would be another thing too if it was well choreographed. Yeah. If they had considered certain things. But yeah, I don't know. He definitely shouldn't. I mean, he only technically wins when Cortana shows up.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, at the end of this fight scene, he is, they have him near exhaustion and death, but
man, something now that we're going back through this, so many of these scenes look exactly the same. Yeah. I keep having to think, have I jumped backwards too far? as we've been going through this. So I think Kai gets out of her little shackles. She runs off to find this guy. Makee does to find this guy to try to warn them about what's going on with Chief. Mm-hmm. Obviously he doesn't trust her for good reason, and they are asking her about what's going on, and they keep her there. And Chief kind of starts fighting back.
That's when Cortana takes over.
Yeah, starts helping him a little bit more, which is fine, honestly. Mm-hmm. Again,
that's her ability.
Yeah, and it would be something that I'd appreciate more, again, in a better show, where the two of them have had a more time together, and that they had developed the relationship between them more. Mm-hmm. Like he literally,
there's too much going on in the show.
Yeah, he tells her to like piss off a couple episodes ago, and now it's back to. She shows up and is like, all right, we're going. And you're like, all right, it would have been nice for you guys to actually have like a conversation, or try to like, even in this episode, to figure things out. You could have cut out so much of this, right? Mm-hmm. Instead, they have to force on us a relationship between the sympathetic female villain and Chief.
Even if they just took out the Quan storyline and they didn't take out anything else, they would have been able to devote so much time to other things, which would have been more important.
Absolutely. You know? So the fight goes on. Chief gets beat up again. She's waiting around because Cortana has essentially come over completely to Chief's side. And they've got him pretty much captured, right? I mean,
Casa. Go ahead.
I was going to say, does it end just in this standoff? That's where pretty much the last we see of him until the very end, right?
Right. So he's incapacitated, basically.
Yeah, and during this, Miranda finds out that Makee's the voice on the recording for reasons. I'm going to let it go, but it's okay. So she comes in and she basically like calls her out, right? And okay, here, this again is like, so she gets tased by the Marine. Who's been guarding her door, and she starts having flashbacks to her past. And I think, again, this is supposed to be something to make you feel sympathy for her. And I was just sitting there like, this isn't working. Yeah, she's supposed to be. She's been a spy this whole time. She's murdered people. And you're telling me that I'm supposed to feel sorry for her?
Because she got tased when she was a child, which is bad, don't get me wrong, but she's no longer a child anymore.
Yeah, and she's willingly going along with the Covenant. People. Yeah. That's something...
And she literally wants to wipe out humanity.
Yeah, she doesn't like... Yeah, that was something that came up earlier in the episode where she was like trying to... Halsey was like, no, I like humanity. Humans are the problem. And you're like, what?
I know. That's an oxymoron.
Like, you do.
But yeah, and Makee was trying to sit there and tell the Admiral and them, I had to kill them. You don't understand.
Yeah.
And they obviously don't trust her. Hey, at least, commend the writers on this scene right there. Yeah. At least you got that right.
Yeah, so you see it says, it's you who will pay. And
it's us who are paying.
It's true, yeah. Value for value, everyone.
Yep.
So she touches, I think this is her touching it right here, and the Marine's here trying to stop her. So was this Keyes or the
Admiral
Captain Keyes
someone.
Or the Admiral lady, the angry Admiral lady? Doesn't really matter. Anyway, so she touches the thing, and of course, this time when she touches it, and this is that same garbage that happened in the first episode that we never got an explanation for, where the thing acts as like an EMP, and it sucks up all the energy, and it somehow makes the thing go.
Yeah.
It's like, did we just forget about that, and no one even wanted to test to see if they could recreate this as an energy source or what?
And they already know that can happen, so why would they even allow her to come in there in the first place?
Yeah, exactly.
Especially with how important,
they're so dumb.
That fragment is the MacGuffin.
But we're gonna have someone in the comments probably who's like, well, in the books, this is what it does. We're like, yeah, but the show is. They're telling us nothing. They have told us zero in this episode.
Absolutely nothing. And it doesn't make sense that she would be allowed in that room.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. All of the revelations that we've gotten in the show is stuff that we knew 4 or 5 episodes ago.
Yep.
But none of the characters did. So it's like we're watching the characters catch up with us.
Yep, and that's not the kind of writing that you want.
No. So anyway, it blows everybody away, and somehow he's back on the ring. And what does she say to him at the end? Do you remember? Some sort of thing about like
goodbye, John.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And it's supposed to be all the sentiments like, no, my girlfriend, I just met you.
I have an attachment with you.
And he passes out, and that's pretty much the end of the episode. Yep. I don't know, man. I don't know if there's.
I wonder if she took the halo with her, but we'll find out in the next episode.
Oh, the key or whatever.
Yeah. That's what that is.
Yeah, I don't know. Now that you mention that, I wonder if the whole that little subplot about the planet getting glassed, if they're just going to completely ignore that now.
Yeah. Because that wasn't satisfied at all in this episode. They didn't complete that, so I'm like, I wonder if that's going to be in the next episode. You got she touched the fragment, and then she just said goodbye, John. And so does the fragment just allow her to disappear, and it didn't before? She's able to control it somehow. She has more control over it than John does.
She's going to miraculously escape reach.
Yeah.
She'll steal something because that blast was so powerful that everyone's going to be like, oh, I don't know what's going on. And she doesn't seem to have been affected by it the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
Gosh, that episode's going to be over an hour. I know it. Last episode, though.
I don't really have anything else to add to this one.
Me either.
Like I was saying, I think that this was another standing around in rooms talking about stuff, except for the little bit of fighting that we got at the end. They skipped over stuff that would have been great world building for the danger that's involved with fighting the Covenant. Instead, we got some bad CG showing us, like just being like, see? And you're like, no.
Too much exposition and not enough.
What was it? They used some insane number of people that were living on that planet.
11 million.
It was like 11 million yet. And 11 million people are dead. It's like, you know what would be great? If we just saw that.
Yeah.
And then
we just saw everyone die.
Yeah, you literally, what you could have done, taken maybe around 5 minutes, had a couple establishing shots of that planet, put a little thing with the name of the planet and the number of people living on the planet underneath it, and then the Covenant destroying it, and that
you
would
could
have
even
been
had their
better.
flags been yellow and blue.
Yellow.
Just so you get your virtue points in there.
And the ship that glasses them is like the red, white, and blue of the, you know what I mean?
No,
the other red, white, and blue. Oh, man. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to our review for episode 8 of the Halo television show. There's only one more.
One more to go, and we're done.
More. We're gonna go through withdrawals. Be like,
oh yeah.
Thank you so much for watching this week, and we'll be back next week for the last episode. Until then, take it easy.
See ya.